Good morning, everyone. This is Michael O'Malley. This is a severe weather update recorded on May 9th, 2023, recorded on 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot of things to jump into today, including multiple rounds of severe weather over the next several days, so let's go and jump straight into everything. Looking at the overall setup across the United States this morning, we noticed that we generally have relatively quiet conditions out across most of the southern U.S. However, out across portions of the central U.S., that is a much different story. We actually have a severe thunderstorm watch out across portions of Kansas and far southern Nebraska over here. This as a result of the potential for damaging winds and large hail with a few storms that are developing. A broad upper level system over near San Jose, California right now. This will be ejecting eastward over the next couple of days, providing multiple rounds of severe weather. And then we also have two other systems. We got a mesoconvective complex down here in the south, well, really in the northwestern Gulf of Mexico and over near Houston, and kind of another decaying system. This actually was another mesoconvective complex that has since been weakening, moving now into the Charlotte, North Carolina area, back through portions of West Virginia and into portions of far southern Pennsylvania. But this is a weakening system, so severe weather unlikely with this, but still pretty good temperatures out across the area today, especially near Jacksonville, 72 to start the morning. Not bad out there. Looking at the water vapor satellite imagery out across the Pacific Ocean today, yes, the Pacific Ocean, there's a couple of interesting things that are ongoing out there today. First of all, if we kind of move to the current frame, we notice that there's a broad upper level disturbance here over the Pacific moving into California at the moment. This is not a very impressive system, but it is a trough in the atmosphere nonetheless. You can kind of see the dips in these height contours here. We're looking overlaid at the 500 millibar heights here, and we notice that these are definitely kind of curving, and we also kind of notice the general dip in here. So this indicates that there is a upper level trough that will be moving out across the western US and then into the plains over the next several days, and this will be setting the stage for potential multiple rounds of severe weather out there. Combine that with some dry air that is kind of sneaking its way in all the way into the desert southwest, and this will help to combine that mid-level dry air with that low-level moisture and support pretty steep lapse rates, potential for some significant hail, damaging winds, and a few tornadoes. We're also watching this very big system out across the Aleutian Islands right now. This will be weakening with time, but nonetheless, you can definitely see that there is a trough associated with this. And this will also be moving generally towards the east over the next several days. We'll see if this has any real impact in our weather. It does appear like this might be a contributor towards more severe weather out in the medium range, but we'll have to look at that. Otherwise, pretty quiet out across the Pacific Ocean today. Something else of just interest here, we notice that this is the intertropical convergence zone down here. All of this moisture going up in the atmosphere. This is actually a response to the ongoing El Nino conditions out across the equatorial Pacific, or the developing El Nino conditions. And we notice how that actually creates a lot of shear across the Atlantic here. You notice these cloud tops being blown off into the Atlantic. You've got these upper level westerlies or upper level easterlies here. And what that does is it actually creates a lot of shear out across this area. So we're already kind of starting to see the effects of that, but we'll have to watch to see how this plays out with time. So for today's overall severe weather threat, we have multiple chances for severe weather across different areas. So first of all, starting from left to right, we have a slight risk for severe storms, level 2 out of 5 risk, generally speaking from about Wichita, Kansas, and south of Kansas City, through just really about Enid, Oklahoma, and Tulsa, and then a marginal level 1 out of 5 risk down to Oklahoma City, Lubbock, Texas, Midland, another level 1 out of 5 for places like Houston and Corpus Christi, and another level 2 out of 5 slight risk for portions of the Carolinas. We're looking, generally speaking, at North Carolina, Southern Virginia, from about Virginia Beach down through about Jacksonville. And we also have a marginal level 1 out of 5 from just about Dorchester, Colleton counties, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, all the way through the Virginia Beach and southern tip of Maryland there. Now, the overall severe weather threat for today, again, generally speaking, tornadoes only at 2% out across this northern risk area. stretching from actually just east of Denver, Colorado, and portions of far southwestern Nebraska, stretching all the way down into near Enid, Oklahoma, the far northern tip of really Texas here, and then also stretching into far northwestern Arkansas and southwestern Missouri. Damaging winds, large hail, the primary threats with both of these slight risks, however, today. And you can see here again both the attendant risk for that. If we move out to the day 2 threat, we have a slight risk for severe storms out across the northern high plains here, from about Denver, Colorado, Garden City, North Platte, Rapid City, all the way into far southeastern Montana. Again, tornado threat actually at 5%, so a little bit higher of a tornado threat out across the Denver area to near Rapid City and far southeastern Montana. 2% stretching all the way down to near Amarillo, and a 2% risk also stretching up into far southwestern North Dakota. So a large threat for severe weather tomorrow, including the potential for tornadoes out across places like Denver tomorrow. And some of these may be landspout tornadoes. Some might be supercellular tornadoes. Again, we're talking about that big upper level system moving out across the western U.S., and that'll be kicking eastward today. Damaging winds, large hail, primary threats with this. However, again, isolated tornadoes are possible. Marginal risk all the way back down to the Texas-Mexico border. And on day 3, we have another very large slight risk. This stretching from just near Oklahoma City and El Reno, Oklahoma, back through near Aberdeen, South Dakota, and Rapid City, with a broad level 1 out of 5 marginal risk stretching from Oklahoma City, Minneapolis, Rapid City, and up into near Bismarck, North Dakota. So certainly very large risks associated with these threats, and we'll be watching to see how this evolves. Looking at the forecast evolution of how things just might pan out here, this is the NAM 3 kilometer, so just one model solution here, but we'll kind of step back in time. First of all, this is kind of bringing it up to just about near the current time, really. And we notice that, again, we're going to have this large complex of thunderstorms developing this morning out across portions of the north central high plains, again, from Kansas into Nebraska. Now, watch also out here. This is our other slight risk today. And we notice that we're going to have a complex of thunderstorms develop and move rapidly southward. And these, again, damaging winds, large hail, seem to be the primary threats with this area of showers and storms from about Charlotte, North Carolina through about Virginia Beach. Now, our other setup today out across the plains, we notice that, again, this seems to be a mesoscale convective system, probably a QLCS, that will form this morning and dive southward with any of the more outflow dominant systems today. And they will continue to kind of march their way towards generally the south as they get established cold pools, move further south. And so we could see strong to severe storms all the way as far south as Oklahoma City today. And then something kind of weird happens in Texas. You can kind of see, if you look down right here, I don't even know what this is. It looks like something you would see in a tropical cyclone. So I suspect that the model is probably doing something weird here, and this probably will not be a realistic outcome. However, there is a threat for some severe weather down there today as well, mainly for damaging winds and hail. And then if we move forward to tomorrow's forecast, this is the day 2 risk that we were talking about, generally speaking, out across Denver and the northern high plains. We noticed that the NAM 3 kilometer develops multiple bands of thunderstorms tomorrow. Some of these may be semi-discrete storms as well, with the potential to produce a few supercell tornadoes. That eventually develops actually into a line of storms, and then we kind of get another reinvigoration on the 11th here. So this is getting out into the latter part of the forecast, but you notice a more reinvigorated area of thunderstorms that end up developing, and actually snow in the higher elevations here, as highlighted by the NAM 3 kilometer, and potentially more severe weather ongoing out across the kind of the Midwestern region. So a lot to kind of keep tabs on over the next several days, but certainly this day 2 threat has my interest. Just looking at the overall instability that is forecast off the NAM 3 kilometers, it's actually quite interesting that there is quite a vast amount of surface-based instability out across this area. Instability values around 1,000 joules per kilogram in most locations, all the way up to near North Dakota, even, and of course further south, higher instability. But this whole axis here has a rather significant amount of instability, at least in the surface-based parcel here. So again, mixed layer values probably generally running about 500 to about 1,200 joules per kilogram, which is certainly more than sufficient for thunderstorms, especially in this part of the world. It is not, it's not really comparable to the southeast U.S. where you need higher you need more instability values or whatever. The north central Great Plains here and high plains, you can get tornadoes and Cape environments that are under 400. So for what it's worth, plenty of instability for tomorrow, and that should allow for thunderstorms to form. Actually, look here at the surface, or the 0 to 3 SRH here for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Not really a lot, but there is some, especially near the Denver area. And I would suppose that probably increases as we progress throughout the remainder of the day. And in fact, here it does, with SRH values increasing across most of the entire risk area tomorrow evening. That could definitely set the stage for a few tornadoes tomorrow. So looking here at the 500 millibar winds, this kind of gives us an idea of generally what to expect over the next several days. Now, right away, if we kind of back this up, there's nothing really noticeable, at least in the Central Plains right now. But just look off the top, or kind of look over here on my cursor, is off the coast here of California, there's a developing trough right here. And this is going to be ejecting off towards the east. And you can kind of see it happening already. This trough digging in, and you've got amplifying winds coming down on the base of this trough, kind of routing the base of that. And as it begins to move across the area, this is going to increase a lot of vertical lifting out across the Central Plains and the Northern High Plains, and that will allow for thunderstorms to initiate across this area, suggesting that there won't be really a lot of problems getting storms to initiate. And one of the other things too, if we actually look here at the vorticity in the atmosphere at 500 millibars, it's about 18,400 feet in the atmosphere, we notice this little band here. You notice this like little blob of oranges and reds here. This indicates that there's increased vertical vorticity, so increased vertical motion in the atmosphere, and that definitely supports the idea of a severe threat moving into day 2 and 3. Overall, taking a look here at the 850 millibar wind forecast off the HRRR, we notice that we're going to have a pretty strong low-level jet in place throughout the day today. And while that does weaken heading into this evening, we notice that that will certainly regenerate into the day tomorrow, and then as we progress throughout the morning and into tomorrow afternoon and evening, that low-level jet will rapidly begin to increase. And we notice that by the time we get into early morning on Thursday, we actually have over a 35 knot low-level jet out across most of the risk area, especially in that higher zone of tornado threat. So again, definitely tornadoes seem to be a pretty good and honest threat for tomorrow. And again, we could see some supercell tornadoes. Maybe a strong tornado wouldn't completely rule out a strong tornado given some of the other environmental factors that play into that. But overall, again, landspouts and supercell tornadoes both in play for tomorrow, and I think that will be something to monitor as we go forward. Looking at the HRRR forecast and looking at the precipitation, we'll kind of run this back here. A little bit of a different handle on the MCS complex today, not carrying it as far south into Oklahoma, but generally speaking, again, severe weather out across portions of Texas possible today into the day tomorrow. And then we notice that band of storms lighting up here, probably along the dry line here across the north central plains here and all the way down into Texas, and then the potential for supercells and damaging winds, large hail, all the way up to near Fargo and down through about Denver as we progress through the day 2 and into the day 3 time frame by Thursday. So a lot to watch over the next couple of days, and this will certainly be of some note. So definitely, if you live out again for our day 2 threat, if you live anywhere from about Denver and especially in that higher end tornado threat tomorrow from about Denver to near Rapid City, you could be seeing the potential for some tornadoes for sure. 5% area again, meaning you have a 5% chance within 25 miles of a given point. That is certainly something to take note of, especially for up here and this early in the season. You typically don't see risks like this far to the north and west this early in the season, that is for sure. So that being said, everybody needs to have a plan to know what to do in case if you are under a tornado warning. So with that being said, I do hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. Of course, I am Michael O'Malley, and I'll talk to you guys again some more over the next several days.